and welcome to another episode of the Genius Podcast. You're joined by your awesome host, Sarah Mitchell, and my amazing co-host, Joshua the Genius. This week, we're going to be recapping the Apple event that was held last week. Tuesday? Or was it Monday?
Tuesday. The 14th.
The
September
14th.
14th.
Last week Tuesday, so Apple had an event and they were discussing new products that are coming out at the 27th.
So they were available for pre-order. Most of them were available for pre-order on that Friday.
The same day.
Yeah.
At the end of the week for the event.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to recap all the items that Apple released, and we're also going to kind of just touch on iOS 15, which in a previous episode we did a deep dive into what to expect for iOS 15, so I encourage you to take a look at that episode. And we're going to be looking mostly at product releases today.
Yeah,
so
heavy on that.
Product do you want to jump into first, Joshua?
So I want to start with the big one. I want to start with iPhone.
It's a landmark.
I want to start with iPhone. So the reason I want to start with iPhone because I think iPhone is the most used product by Apple users.
It's the gateway drug.
Yeah, well, now the gateway drug back in the day, maybe 15
iPod.
years ago, was Mac. Was Mac. Getting a Mac was their first introduction into the Apple ecosystem. Now in 2021, people's first introduction usually into the Apple ecosystem is their iPhone. And then from the iPhone, they may get another iPad or Mac, and they start building their Apple product pile from there. But myself, I've been an iPhone user since iPhone 3G. And so now looking at the new release of the iPhone, there's been, significant upgrades over time. But if you are, a yearly upgrader like myself, there's not too big a differences between the previous iPhone model.
12 and iPhone 13.
Correct. So with the iPhone 13, so that's the newest edition of the iPhone line, the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 mini, the iPhone 13 Pro, and iPhone 13 Pro Max. Okay, so those are your 4 different iterations of the iPhone in this cycle.
So we're not getting a 13 Max? If you want the larger screen, you have to get a Pro.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. So it's 13 mini, which would be similar to the iPhone 12 and 12 mini, and then you have your 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max, right? Similar to the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. Okay. So the first 2 I'm going to start with are the iPhone 12 and 12 mini. With the iPhone 12 and 12 mini, you
13 and 13 mini?
Are
you taking us from the old one to the new one?
From the old one to the new one, excuse me. Yes. Starting with the iPhone 13. It's has the same form factor as the iPhone 12 line. All right. So as far as the design of the outside, it still has the curved corners, but it has the flat edges on the side. Very similar to the iPhone 4 and 5 lines, if you guys had any of those older models.
I prefer that to the curved edge. I found I was dropping my phone. It's a better grip for me.
Okay.
With the curved edge, I found it was slipping out my hand a lot. That might just be me being clumsy. But my preference is the flat edge as far as a form factor.
So aesthetically, does the solid straight edges look better, or does the curve on the side look better?
If we're speaking aesthetically, I feel like the flat edge looks a bit more modern.
Okay.
The curved edge looks a little dated to me.
Interesting.
It's reminiscent of the iPhone 3G in
Correct.
my mind, because that had the whole curve going all the way around. Yeah.
Got you. Okay. So same form factor. It still has the ceramic shield glass. It's touted to be the strongest glass that's available for smartphones currently. So it has that. Yeah, we'll see. It has that ceramic shield glass is what they're calling it. It still has the IP68 water resistance. All right, so that's up to 6 meters or 18 feet of depth when you're swimming or going into any body of water.
For a specific amount of time?
For up to 30 minutes.
Okay.
For up to 30
That's not to say you could throw your phone in the ocean or you could go snorkeling with your phone, please. Salt water is not the same as you spilling your sink water on your phone.
Correct. And water resistance is the key. So the rating in which they grade water resistance is in IP ratings. And IP rating 68 allows you to go up to 6 meters up to 30 minutes. So I'm not saying to try that, to test it out, but if you're in situations where your phone, mistakenly goes into, the pool, or
Drops in the sink when you're washing your dishes.
right, you don't have to, completely panic, because your iPhone should be able to withstand
That exposure to
yeah,
liquid.
yes, that brief exposure. But like Sarah said, down here in St. Thomas, we deal with salt water, which is much more abrasive
Corrosive.
and much more corrosive than just regular fresh water or pool water. So if you're in the Virgin Islands or in other areas of seawater, don't test out that IP rating. We have a lot of people that come here to the store that they're fresh off the plane. They go to the beach, and I see them in 2 or 3 hours from there on the beach, and their phone has water damage. So just something to think about.
Yeah, the snorkeling with the phone is the one that got me. I was like, you did what?
Yeah, and so the IP rating, again, is something that is it's a resistance factor, but it's not something that you guys should go out and test. All right, there's different IP ratings for different Apple devices. So like I said, for the iPhone, the IP rating is IP68, 6 meters up to 30 minutes. All right. With the camera system on the back, so if you guys have the iPhone 12, you can notice that your camera system is in a vertical manner. The cameras are on top of one another.
So they're stacked.
They're stacked. Now the camera system is diagonal, right? So there's one camera in one corner and one camera in the bottom corner, and they've kind of reshifted where they put the sensors and the flash on the camera system. So that's new. They also have the same colors as the upcoming Apple Watch, which we'll talk about here shortly. And those colors are, they have the space gray, they have the product red, they have starlight.
You mean white? They're wild for that.
Starlight.
The space gray they're calling midnight.
Midnight.
The white they're calling starlight, because Apple bougie like that. And then the new color for that line is just like a powdered pink color. It's like a very light pink.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not. I think my mom would like that.
I want that one, but I want a Pro. I'm torn.
Also the notch. So Apple's being a lot of feedback about the notch that holds the Face ID security system. That is now 20% smaller on the iPhone 12 and 12 mini. That notch that you see up at the top of the phone that holds all of your sensors is now 20% smaller.
She's talking about that little black area. Okay, so
mm-hmm.
we're getting more screen real estate with this. Okay.
So both the iPhone 13 and 13 mini have what's called a Super Retina display, which makes your display almost 30% brighter. Right, so when you're outside, especially down here where when we're outside, the sun is very intense. So sometimes it's difficult to see our cell phones if they're directly in the sunlight. But having really bright displays in that sunlight allow us to still be able to see that vibrancy. Better. And with the iPhone 13 models, we get 30% of an increased brightness based on that Super Retina display, which I think is pretty cool.
Is this going to impact battery life?
So we're getting to battery life, but battery life with the iPhone 13 and the 13 mini in comparison to the predecessor, the 13 is about 1.5 hours. It will last about 1.5 hours longer than the iPhone 12. And the iPhone 13 mini will also last around that same time frame, about 1.5 hours more than its predecessor, the iPhone 12 mini.
Okay.
All right. So with the camera system, they're also larger cameras. They now have the 12 megapixel wide camera and ultra wide camera.
Nice.
So they've made the aperture on the camera system a little bigger to allow, I believe it's to 30 to 35% more light into the camera system.
Into the camera, yep.
Correct. So the camera can pick up on all the background light, pick up on the lights and darkness of the background picture, and
you get
also
better contrast.
Better contrast and all the colors that you're trying to get out of your picture. There's a stabilization technology that was in the iPhone 12 Pro Max specifically, and this helped when you were doing video recordings or shooting live photos. It helped with the stabilization of the objects that were in view, and so now that technology is becoming standard in the iPhone 13 line. So the 13 mini and the 13 have that automatic object stabilization built into the camera system. And there's also a new Symtomatic Mode. So this new cinematic mode for those that are aspiring film directors or film producers, movie makers. This cinematic view allows you to do autofocus of your actors and kind of bring them in and out of view in real time as you're shooting.
You're recording.
Right?
So if I have, let's say, three people in my frame and they're having a conversation, and I want to bring into focus the person who is speaking, as the conversation is going, I can tap on the screen and it will blur out the background, but it will keep in focus the person that I click on, the person who is speaking.
That is correct.
Okay, cool.
That is correct. And so I'm not a big filmmaker myself, but now that this feature is in there, I want to play with it. Right, I want to see what cool things I can make with this, and maybe make some cool commercials here for the store. But I think for filmmakers, if it's your profession, I think this is a feature that you'll really be able to utilize in your professional productions. So I'm interested to see in the event, Apple had some not skits, but kind of takes from some other movies that were made with the 13 and 13 mini, and they showed how the technology was being used in real time, and the crispness and the vibrancy of these videos is super awesome. So I'm just really interested to see what you guys come up with.
I think that with the new cinematic mode, and are you about to talk about the macro lens mode?
Not yet, no. No, we're going to save that for the 12 Pro Max.
The Pro, okay, so that comes with the Pro.
Yep.
So I think what's so amazing about the release of these products is cool and everything, but what I'm most excited about is the opportunity for creators, because it's like you're making these things more accessible for people, and I just want to see all the cool things that people make. So not just, like professional filmmakers. Like I want to see what our amateur filmmakers here on Island, our students, are going to make using this technology. Like let your your creativity run wild because the tools are in your hands.
For sure. And so getting back to battery life, I need to make a quick edit. Battery life for the iPhone 12 mini, obviously for the 13 mini in comparison to the 12 mini, is 1.5 hours. The iPhone 13
to the 12.
in comparison to the iPhone 12 is 2.5 hours.
Oh.
Right, so if you're
I
coming
wonder if the actual battery is larger and that's where the difference is coming from, or if it's how the CPU, GPU are allocating power based on tasks.
I'm very, very glad that you started talking about power management and efficiency, because that's a great segue into why the iPhone line of the iPhone 13 is superior to its predecessor, because every year Apple is updating the brain of these products.
That's
right?
why I'm like, the actual form factor isn't changing, so that means parts aren't necessarily getting bigger. They might be getting smaller in some senses, but how is the brain of the phone kind of utilizing its resources?
Correct. So right now the current chipset for the iPhone is the A15 Bionic chipset, and we've had some previous podcasts about what microchips are, where they're manufactured, what devices use them, and what shortage is going on right now as far as companies' access to get these chips in their devices. Apple being pretty much the biggest software and hardware company and technology company on the planet, they have first dibs at these high-end, high-quality, very, very expensive chipsets.
TSMC.
Yes.
Chipsets.
Right. So they have first dibs with TSMC to get their chips made so they can put them into their products. With the A15, let me find my note about the A15.
Are these utilizing the 5 nanometer
Yes.
chipsets? Or
yes.
We're not into the 3 nanometer chipsets yet?
Not
Those
yet.
are in the lab being produced at this point.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So most smartphones right now are still working on 7 nanometer technology. And what I mean by that, nanometers is the unit of measurement that we use to measure the distance between the transistors that are on the actual chip itself, the microchip itself. And the transistors are kind of what does our on and off, right? It does the logic It does all of the processing of information from the iPhone. It processes all of the power information. It processes the operating system. It controls how all of the components of your phone work. The difference between 7 nanometer and 5 nanometer is that with 5 nanometer technology, I believe it's 15 billion transistors can fit
Wow.
into one chip. 15 billion transistors.
And these are like the size of a fingernail. That's how small these chips are.
Mm-hmm. And so with that, with those transistors being that dense, that allows us 15% faster CPU performance.
Because you have a shorter distance for the electricity to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
15% faster CPU performance versus the next industry competitor. So whoever's next after Apple,
Samsung? No? Ain't Samsung?
I wasn't going to throw any names out there,
I'm
but
going to try them out.
right?
I think it's Samsung.
So 50% faster than the other competition as far as CPU performance, right? As far as processing information. Then we look at the other components to the chip, right? We have the CPU, which is the central processing unit. Then we have the GPU, which is your graphical processing unit. And that's what process all the visual data that's going through your phone. So we're talking about, yes, the things you see on Safari and your websites, but we're also talking about these high-end games that are now being produced for the iPhone. The game category in the App Store is the highest grossing category in the App Store. Right? So that means developers are making games specifically for iOS and specifically for these devices. Okay? So they want to make sure that it just took, I think it was
They better take advantage of that refresh rate.
Right. But with big gaming houses like Sony, with like Microsoft, these gaming houses have been apprehensive since, say, around 2015, 2016 is when we started to see the shift of gaming companies feeling more comfortable about bringing their products onto the iOS platform. Mm-hmm. Because the console could pack much more power because it was a larger device.
That's a dedicated computer for
and
that
it was
specific.
dedicated specifically for those games. Now the iPhone isn't made specifically for God of War or Call of Duty, right? But those game houses have been able to make versions for the iOS platform because of how sophisticated and how efficient and how powerful Apple's chipsets are. All right. So we look at the GPU. The GPU is 30% faster than the competition. 30% faster than the competition. It comes with a 2 times size of the system cache, meaning that it can store more temporary files for quick reload and quicker access, right? Say you needed to store game states of your game or different free states, visual states of your application. There's larger room for you to do that. As well as with the GPU, get this, with the GPU we have 15.8 trillion operations per second.
I can't even conceive.
Can't even conceive, right? And so
that's crazy.
Yep. So with CPU performance being 50% faster, GPU performance being 30% faster, we also have embedded into the neural engine. Embedded into the A15 Bionic, we have the neural engine. And this neural engine is specifically for machine learning algorithms. These machine learning algorithms power features such as live text.
I was just about to say that imaging technology that's recognizing not only text in an image. So, for example, if you take a picture of the outside of a restaurant, you can actually highlight the name of the restaurant and send it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It can also recognize objects in the images.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so machine learning is becoming more and more necessary in our daily applications, because with machine learning, it allows the software to do intelligent organization and intelligent analysis on your usage patterns to be able to either bring you relevant data or process data for you that's relevant to you in a shorter amount of time every single time that you use it going forward. So the amount of time processing decreases and decreases over time to make your work environment and work experience and uses of the phone more efficient, right? So that's all about A15. The A15 Bionic, again, is the brain of all of the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 mini, and it's also in the iPhone 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max, and it's going to be in some of the other products that we'll talk about here shortly.
So the version of the A15 chip that's in the 13 Pro, isn't that kind of like a modified, souped up version?
So yes, there's.
So what are we getting extra?
We get a couple usage cases of the chipset differently, and I believe that there's an extra core inside of.
So more processing power.
More processing power, of course. Yep. So to go back to the iPhone, we're talking about pricing. Pricing with the iPhone is starting at $699.
Is this for the mini?
No, this is for the iPhone 13 mini, and the iPhone 13 is $799. Right, so comparable to last year's prices. I did not see too many people with the mini version of the iPhone. I'm curious to see if any of our followers have one. Sarah, have you seen anybody with the?
Only one person. I think the mini appeals to people who like the SE form factor.
Okay.
I think that's to appeal to that corner of the market.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, so that's the 13 and 13 mini. Moving on to the 13 Pro and Pro Max. So the 13 Pro and Pro Max basically have the similar form factor, similar features of the 13 and 13 mini, just with a few more
a little extra sauce on it.
Yeah, a little more professional upgrades and a few slightly different features. So the 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max still have the 20% smaller notch. The 13 Pro and Pro Max come with the 3-camera system, right, as opposed to the one. The telephoto,
the wide telephoto, you have the ultra wide lens, and then you have the wide lens.
Correct. Still comes with the ceramic shield. Still comes with the IP rating of 68. Right, again, that 6 meters, up to 6 meters. 18 feet for up to 30 minutes. Supports MagSafe. So I did not mention that with the iPhone 13 and 13 mini. So MagSafe is supported. Just like the 12 Pro and Pro Max, you can start to utilize the new Apple MagSafe battery charger that just automatically magnetizes to the back of your phone.
So you don't have to try to figure out where the sweet spot is for charging? Okay, that's nice. That's helpful.
Has an automatic magnet on there, and then also there's some other accessories for charging and wallet features, and some other MagSafe accessories for camera usage as well, to kind of keep whatever accessory you're using on the phone without any additional holsters, which I think is pretty cool. So that's the MagSafe is now across the entire iPhone 13 line.
Like it?
Yep. Go ahead.
Macro lens.
You know,
I'm excited about that.
Go ahead and get it out.
So I think what's really cool about the macro lens is for people who do nature photography. The macro lens allows you to zoom in like crazy close. When I say that, I mean like something that's 2 centimeters away from the lens and it not be blurry, it being crisp and clear. So I'm talking about like zooming in on a leaf and seeing all the different cell blocks in the leaf, or zooming in on, I know some people do like insect photography where they'll take like photos of bees, but it's like really, really, really close. So I think it's cool that that's going to be coming to the iPhone 13 Pro. That I feel is really to appeal to the photography, give it that edge as far as the photography crowd is concerned.
For sure. And then another edge to our photographers and videographers out there, they have a feature called now ProMotion. ProMotion is the refresh rate that you can experience on the iPhone screen is very fluid. Now with ProMotion, the refresh of the screen is going to refresh at the speed at which you are scrolling your finger. All right, or if an application demands a higher refresh rate, your iPhone can dynamically change to the higher refresh rate. So I believe the lowest.
That sounds like a battery conserving approach.
Power
So you're not
efficiency.
going at full throttle all the time.
When you don't
it's
need
gonna,
to.
It's gonna adjust based on the needs.
Correct. So that refresh rate is going to be really good for those that want to be able to see crisp video back. Right, if they're taking really dense, high content. High quality video.
Oh yeah, I was about to say high resolution.
High resolution
because you have a higher density of pixels.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah. Thank you. High resolution video, but then also with game companies, if you need that refresh rate to be at its highest, that 120 megahertz, if you need that, you have access to it, and you can have access to it at its most efficient level. So when you're scrolling through Safari, it may fluctuate between 10 to 30 megahertz as far as the refresh rate. And for those that are don't know what refresh rate is, the screen has to produce these images onto your screen fast enough to where it's crisp.
And the movement is smooth.
And it's smooth. And so it has to do it to where your eyes don't really catch it, right?
Notice you'll see the single images, yeah.
You'll see that little staggering happening if the refresh rate is low. So
buffering.
What's been difficult is phones to be able to get that crisp while users are needed in low refresh environments and high refresh environments dynamically. That's been the biggest issue. And now with ProMotion, not ProRes, ProMotion, that has been solved. So I'm very interested to see how that feels. I'll be going to Houston in a couple days. We're talking about the Apple Store. That's going to be one of the first things I start to go play with to see how that refresh rate really looks. Because I'm a pro user of my iPhone, I use tons of different applications on my iPhone. So I'm very interested to see how that refresh rate gives me the highest quality of visual that I want from my iPhone. So with the ProMotion, its lowest is 10 hertz, highest is 120 hertz. With also we were talking about ProRes.
Were we talking about ProRes? While you're looking for your next thing, I do want to point out that one thing we're getting with the 13 Pro and Pro Max that we're not getting with the 13 is we're getting up to 1 terabyte of storage. So if you're going to be utilizing your phone to record in 4K video to take these high resolution images, you need the space to actually store these images. So you're going to have that available to you with the 1 terabyte storage option, which is only available with the Pro and Pro Max. Also, let's see, they're introducing a new color into the line, which will be Sierra Blue. So we know about, there's the gold, there's the silver, there's the black, and now there's going to be the Sierra Blue. The last year's cycle, it was kind of like a seafoam green kind of color, and now they're leaning more into the blue hue with this one.
And so I did find ProRes. So ProRes is for high color fidelity shooting in 4K at 30 frames per second. Now you can do that right in the camera app. Like I said, I'm not a
I don't think people can realize that you can toggle your frames per. You can record HD 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. You can record 4K 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, and of course your file size is gonna increase dramatically as you cross over from HD to 4K. So just be mindful of that.
Mm-hmm. And with ProRes, from my research, there's been difficulty shooting with certain cameras or shooting with certain iPhone cameras and trying to get that same quality when you export the file into Final Cut. With the ProRes feature embedded into the camera system, the export of that file right into Final Cut, you're not going to lose a thing. You're not going to lose a
I like
thing.
that.
You'll be able to import it right into Final Cut and be able to do your editing right there on that raw file without any loss of quality, which I think is really good. And so if you're shooting 4K 30 frames per second,
You
what
want to retain that.
we shot our first podcast, and I had shot one of
We
I shot
that
one
first
of yep with my iPhone
That
right
file
here
was
with the
huge.
12 with the 12 Pro that I have. I shot it at 4K 30 frames per second. We shot for about an hour and a half. That file size was what? It was like 70 gigs or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was wild because normally the video files are around 7 to 9 gigs, and that's on HD 30 frames per second. Bumping it up to 4K, it
30 frames per second.
more than doubled
More than
the file size.
It took.
It was like 15. It was like 15 gigs of video. It was a lot.
I thought it was like in the 70s. Am I wrong?
I'd have
No,
to
it was
double check. I gotta double check.
It
was
was a
wild
big,
though.
yeah. The higher quality of video that you're shooting, the larger your file size is going to be, which leads, which leads to potentially the larger that it gets, corruption is a issue with larger file sizes, especially when you're trying to
Copy from one location to the next.
copy from one location to the next, or you're trying to, with video, you have video components, you have audio components, you have background noise, you have all these different other metrics in video files.
Metadata.
Yep, that can get corrupted on the export. So with this feature there, I don't believe that we're going to be seeing any degradation in the export of your file right into Final Cut or any other video software. You should be able to get right into it, pick up, and do your editing right there with no loss of quality. Okay. We talked about video features. Price.
Oh yeah, what are our price points for our 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max?
13 Pro starting at $999. 13 Pro starting at $999, and 13 Pro Max is $1099. It's only about $1,000 more. Me personally, I had the iPhone, I think it was the 6 Plus. I hated it.
Oh, the bigger screen?
I
kept dropping mine.
Yeah,
I just can't.
I enjoyed
My
the
hands aren't
bigger
big enough.
screen, but I did not
For
enjoy.
streaming?
Yeah, for
And
streaming
gaming?
Netflix and gaming, I was fine. But for using my phone, I'm a big one-hand user of my iPhone. It was just too big. And what I
Did you
find
use
to be
reachability?
I hate reachability. It's
It's
too
not practical?
it's too much. It's a cool thing to help. I hated it. I don't ever use reachability. But what I find to be interesting is that I find more women using
The larger
the
screen?
larger screens and more men using smaller screens. And typically, men's hands are bigger than women. So you would think that a man's hand, because it's bigger, would be able to use a bigger phone better. Nah, it's not the case. In my experience, I enjoy having a phone that I can fit inside of almost not inside of my palm, but I can use comfortably with one hand instead of having to move my thumb all the way around this big screen. I also find that women use their phones with two hands. We're going on a little bit of a tangent. I'm going to get us back here in just a minute. Just a minute, but I got another point. I was having a conversation with a student of mine, and they were talking about selfies. Right? They were talking about selfies, and they were like, "Yeah, I really like my camera," and they were like, "The majority of the stuff that I use with my phone is with the camera." And the student of mine, she's a young lady, and so they use the majority of their apps have to deal with using their camera, social media. Taking pictures, Snapchat,
TikTok, Snapchat, photo editing apps.
A lot of it has to deal with the camera. Smartphones are much more than just the camera, right? And so we were having a conversation. Yeah, we were having a conversation of.
I was about to cuss.
Well, some other competitors out there have a better camera. I've looked in and I saw some of the pictures they've taken. They're just amazing pictures. Okay, great. But the iPhone is much more than just a camera. Now, while the iPhone
talk about the image processing that happens on the phone
while
the photo is being taken, and then after the photo is taken, like in real time. No,
we didn't even get into all that. My point is that with the iPhone cameras, they've been upgraded over time, really to meet the demands of the general photographer or your novice photographer, those that are taking pictures for social media that aren't doing it professionally. And so that's been the biggest draw to people to smartphones. It's not really battery life, or it's not this
the brightness
awesome,
of the screen,
the brightness or this awesome
or the processing
A15
power.
Bionic. Boom.
Refresh
Those things
rates.
are right. Those things are awesome to people in the know. For us who have been in the ecosystem for or just love technology, but for your average user, they're going, how good is the camera? How bright is the flash? Their metrics for what they're looking for in a phone are a little skewed, because the phone is much more than a camera. Much more than a camera. And if you're basing your value on a smartphone mostly on the camera, then you may not need a smartphone. You may just need
A camera.
Yeah, you may just need to go get a camera and just have just like a regular little flip phone.
Just
right?
like you funny.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
you might not need
practical.
a smartphone.
They wanna
Okay.
just roll up on the, wherever they gotta go, pull out your phone, take a picture. I must cart my camera around with me and then have a flip phone. That's not cool.
Okay. I'm done on my tangent.
Okay, let's get back on the road.
So to wrap
Anything
up,
else for
iPhone?
iPhone?
To wrap up with iPhone, I just want to talk about some environmental features and attributes that are on this line of iPhones.
Yes, environmental warrior. Yes.
So in iPhone, there is no more plastic wrap inside of the iPhone boxing.
So there's
And
a
that's-
packaging.
That's the
Okay.
packaging, and it's avoiding over 600 metric tons of plastic.
Thank you, Apple.
All right.
The environment thanks you.
The packaging also is 100% virgin wood fiber from responsibly managed forests. There is no mercury, PVC, beryllium, or BFR inside of the iPhone as far as harmful chemicals. The display
That's
glass
awesome for recycling.
is
That makes it more recyclable as a product.
The display glass is free of arsenic, which is a harmful chemical to the environment. There's zero waste, so sent to landfill from established final assembly sites. So zero waste in the recycling of iPhones. There's more than 110 suppliers committed to 100% renewable energy for Apple, and Apple wants to be 100% carbon neutral by 2030.
I like how Apple is more concerned about saving the environment than our governments, our global governments. What is going on? But to be honest, the private companies gonna have to make a move, if it's gonna make a difference. Because it's the consumer culture that's destroying the planet.
Speaking of the government,
Go ahead.
meets U.S. Department of Energy requirements for battery charger systems. Recycled plastics used in 10 components, including the stereo speakers. 100% recycled gold inside of the main logic board, and 100% recycled rare earth elements in all of their magnets.
Nice.
So, I don't hear recycle in here.
I get
poor
all
quality.
used parts.
No, those parts are all sent back to Apple's manufacturers, and they are all
broken down,
melted
sorted.
down, sorted, and then rebuilt in to high quality usage. The quality of materials that Apple uses is the highest quality in smartphones out there, period.
This is why they're so expensive.
Yeah. So for that high quality, you gotta pay a little bit. Gotta pay a little bit. So that ends iPhone.
You wanna go into Apple Watch?
Yeah.
We're not gonna spend a lot of time
Watch.
on Apple Watch because I'm gonna be honest. I had high hopes and I kind of fell on my face a little bit because I was expecting if we're gonna bring out a new Apple Watch, you gotta bring out a new feature. I don't see the point of bringing out a new Apple Watch that doesn't have any new features, but that's what happened.
Wait, a bigger screen is it? Never mind.
No, I mean new health features. I want a new. So with our Apple Watch Series 7, we get a larger display and thinner bezel. So the actual size of the watch has not changed. But when I say the bezel, if you look at your Apple Watch screen, you'll notice that there's actual display where, you see all the colors and the pictures and stuff. and then right outside there's a little black border. That's the bezel. So the bezel has gotten smaller, and then the actual size of the screen has gotten bigger. So the actual size of the watch is the same, but gaining a little more space.
Screen real estate.
Yeah, screen real estate by making that bezel smaller.
It's 20% more real estate.
I guess the watch is so small. I feel like 20% ain't really a lot.
Okay.
But that's it. It's gonna be available this fall. I suspect this might be in part due to the chip shortage. I feel like if Apple is prioritizing, where the chips go, iPhone's got to get the chips front and foremost. And those have been available for pre-order and will be made available for regular sale on the 27th.
Yeah, and there's just some small features I want to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
The screen is up to about 70% brighter. There's rounded edges.
Woohoo! Go ahead.
It's crack resistant and has a crack resistant feature. The glass on top of this new Apple Watch is much stronger than its predecessors.
Thank God.
It's dust resistant, so there's an IP rating for dust resistance as well. This is IP6X dust resistance, meaning that you don't have to worry about wearing it like it's, let's say, if you were a woodworker. And you're dealing with a lot of sawdust going around your watch. You don't have to worry about that dust getting into the watch because it has that dust resistance. And this one is WR50 water resistance, which is the same as the IP68 resistance.
On iPhone?
Yep,
okay.
on iPhone. All day battery life. All day battery life. It's a faster charger. There's a faster charger that comes with this one. It can charge up to 33% faster than the predecessor, the Series 6.
And the Series 6 charger
is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yep. It's going to come with that USB-C cable and charging adapter. And then in 45 minutes, you can get a full charge from 0 to about 80%.
Oh, that's good.
In about 45 minutes.
That's really good.
Yep. For those that do sleep tracking, you off of an 8-minute charge. Right, let's say you're at 0 and you charge your phone charge your Apple Watch for about 8 minutes. You can get 8 hours of sleep tracking off of just that 8-minute charge, which I think is pretty cool.
That's
because
dope.
because a lot of people, like myself, I charge my watch in the morning. I work 13 hours a day. I get home and I want to use it when I go to sleep, and I may have to get in bed
you might have like 20%.
Boom, but that 20% may not get me through the night. With this new Apple Watch, put it on the charger for about 8 minutes, I should be good for the night.
Yeah.
Right. For those that utilize your watch for health features, I think that's pretty cool. New colors, just like in the new iPhone.
Oh, what new color are we getting with the watch?
New color we're getting the Starlight. There's
White. Go ahead.
There's a green color. What was the blue? Said it was
Pacific blue or something like that.
Pacific blue, fine.
No, fine. Sierra blue.
Sierra blue, and then the product red. There's also stainless steel and titanium versions, as well as the Nike and Hermes versions.
Ooh.
Yeah. That Hermes versions.
If you want to buy a watch band that's more expensive than your watch, I think that's wild. That's meant for another tax bracket.
Yep. I think those were...
Anything else for
yes,
Apple Watch?
and WatchOS 8. WatchOS 8 is going to be with... every watch comes with a new version of operating system since its first release. So we're on WatchOS 8. Series 7, but WatchOS 8. WatchOS 8. And the
I think there was
series...
like 1 year we didn't get a watch, but there was a new OS.
Yes. In the... No, wait, say it again?
I feel like we got Apple Watch Series 1, Apple Watch Series 2, and then there was a lag between the 2 and the 3. Or it might have been between 3 and 4.
I'd have to look.
Mm-hmm.
But if that is the case, it would have been probably just one time.
Yeah.
Probably just one time.
After that, they got more regular with the releases.
Okay, for sure. WatchOS. Oh, yes. In the Series 7, so we talked about chipsets. The Series 7 has the S7 chip. Which is specifically for the Apple Watch line. It does not have the A15 Bionic, right? That's separate for the iPhone line. The Apple Watch 7 has the Series 7 chip inside of it for all of its processing, Okay. And then we have pricing, Series 3.
What are we looking at price-wise?
So the Series 3 is still out there. I don't know why Apple is still selling the Series 3.
That's supposed to be like the SE model.
There is a SE.
I'm weak.
You see what I'm saying?
Why are they still selling the SE?
I have no idea why they're still selling the Series 3. I haven't been able to figure it out. I haven't been able to figure it out. I guess it's for the...
That's
but it's $200.
Model.
It's $200.
That's the affordable
And the Series 3 doesn't have...
any of the health features.
It has heart rate. Like,
that's
standard.
Not enough.
Anyway, Series 3 is $199. The SE is $279. The SE is $279. And the Series 7 is $399. $399. And it will be available later this fall. Quick environmental information about the Apple Watch. Very similar things to the iPhone line, right? Want to be carbon neutral by 2030. No mercury, PVC, beryllium, or BFR. Display totally free of arsenic. 100% recycled tungsten in the Taptic engine. 100% recycled tin in the solder of the system packaging. And then the actual enclosure, right? The actual frame of the Apple Watch is 100% recycled aluminum. Or aluminum.
For a long time I thought those were two separate compounds. I thought aluminium was some kind of aluminum alloy.
I'm not going to tell you how long I thought.
I was like, y'all just saying it fancy. That's aluminum.
Shout out to Johnny Ive. So that's all we have on the Apple Watch.
Let's talk about iPad.
We will knock off iPad. Okay, iPad.
I feel like the iPad mini.
iPad mini takes the show, but we're gonna save that. We're gonna talk about that first.
You want to start with the regular iPad?
Yeah,
let's build up to it. I like that.
Let's get the old iPad. So, old iPad, new iPad. So the new iPad, all right. The new iPad is for those that still use the iPad with the home button. All right. Still use the iPad with the home button that has the bigger bezels, right? The wider black bezels on the side, and still have that home button at the bottom. So this iPad is, this is the new version of the iPad. This iPad does not have the A15 Bionic chip. This one has the A13 Bionic chip. A13
Did they
Bionic
jump from
chip.
13 to 15? Was there a 14?
So the 14, yes, there was a 14, but not in the iPad line. Not in this iPad line.
I understand.
In the iPhone line, yes.
There was.
But this specific, so Apple has, there's numerous versions of devices, especially with the iPad. You have the regular iPad, the iPad mini, the iPad Air, the iPad Pro, different sizes of the iPad Pro. It has a couple different models. So you have to figure out which one is best for you. I think this one,
on your needs and how you use the.
Yes. Yeah. I think this one is specifically for those that just want to have just a standard iPad, right, for just casual browsing or casual usage.
Something
and then
for your
also
grandma to play her
yes,
her gambling games.
or your beginner,
or
right?
solitaire.
Yeah, or your beginner into the iPad ecosystem and the iPad experience. This would be a great tool for them. With the iPad 13, it's 20%. Has a 20% faster GPU and CPU than the predecessor, and the neural engine is 3 times faster than the top-selling Chromebooks on the market. Right, so it means that the processing.
Chromebooks are trash.
Super trash.
They're cheap, and there's a reason why.
Correct. So I said that the casual user would be a great form or great person for this iPad. The student, right? The student in high school and or college would be very good for this iPad. The reason why is the Chromebooks are what's being given to students to use for distance learning or through Zoom calls. And so the Chromebooks are good for lightweight usage, but when you start doing multiple applications, you start doing video conferencing, you start to really utilize the Chromebook, it's the performance starts to degrade. So I think that Apple making this distinction, right, in their iPad, saying that it's faster than the top selling Chromebook, they're looking at this iPad to be ideal for students or for institutions that want to purchase large volumes of iPads. This would be a really good one for you because you could give it to those students. They could do everything that they need to on that iPad and not lose that performance quality, right? And I believe that Chromebooks and the iPad, if we're going to talk about pricing here, I believe they're similar in price. We'll talk about that here in just a minute.
Around like $250. How much is the iPad?
We'll throw it out there. So the iPad starts at $329, but for schools it's $299. So about $300.
Okay. I was about to say Chromebooks are around $300.
Chromebooks about $300. Right. So it comes with the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. Right. So the 12 megapixel.
Does that do center stage?
The 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. A big gripe about iPads is that the front camera has been trash. The back camera has been great.
You're not supposed to take pictures with an iPad. I cringe when I see people holding up an iPad to take, especially at weddings. I'm like, bro, you're in the aisle, like, being disruptive right now. With your big old iPad, grandma.
And with the big 12
somebody
Pros
auntie. That
like
was somebody auntie out there taking pictures.
With this iPad, especially with distance learning, the need for utilizing that front camera has grown out of just selfies, or grown out of just front video chats. Yep, we need it for high quality video chats and high quality video conferencing, because now these teachers need to be able to see their students in full high resolution. And the students, in order for them to stay engaged, they need a screen that's going to have a good refresh rate and not buckle on them when they need to use the raw power
hits the road.
Out of their device. So as Sarah mentioned, with the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera on the front of the iPad, this enables a feature called Center Stage. And with Center Stage, it basically allows you, if you're doing a video presentation, the camera is going to pan and follow you as you move around.
So you're never out of frame.
Correct. So if you are a teacher and you're giving a presentation, you have to move from one side of the chalkboard to the next side. I say chalkboard, like teachers still used to using chalkboards.
They're streaming from their Prometheum boards.
Prometheum boards, right? It shows how old I am, right? Streaming from if you have to work from one side of the Prometheum board to the other side, you don't have to shift the iPad. The camera will shift inside for you.
You just gotta move, baby.
Right? And that's something you have to pay for. It's not an additional thing you have to add on. It just comes embedded into the camera system of the front-facing camera. And now I think that's going to be a really cool factor for those that need to present utilizing that front-facing camera. The feature is called Center Stage. The iPad also has True Tone. So this is a feature that was first introduced to the iPhone. True Tone basically makes the display and it adjusts the hue to match the background and lighting conditions of the environment that you're in to help with the reading on that screen.
Yeah,
which I also
reducing eye strain, which is good for students who are going to spend all day staring at this iPad screen, reading their textbooks or reading any other books that they have to read for school.
Or those that have really poor eyes like myself. Right, my eyesight is horrible, so things that help my eyesight are always appreciated. And then also for eye fatigue, for those that keep their eyes on screens all day in the work environment, that if they have to go and do leisurely reading, they can adjust that True Tone and help with that.
To reduce that eye fatigue.
Yes. It reduce the strain and the what's the word I'm looking for? Not harshness, but not vibrancy. I can't think of it. Moving on. Apple Pencil Generation 1. So the iPad does not support Generation 2 Apple Pencil.
The Generation 2 is the one with the flat edge.
Yes.
That magnetizes to the side of the iPad. Generation 1 still has the piece that comes off the back, the little eraser, the fake eraser.
While that concept was, I guess, was cool when it came out, practically, horrible design.
Yeah,
horrible design.
However, I know somebody broke off that lightning charger in their iPad.
Oh yeah. However, with the Apple Generation 1 pencil, it's less expensive. Less expensive than the Generation 2 pencil. And because the iPad has the A15 Bionic, it can't support the Apple II pencil. So those are the reasons why you have the Generation 1. But if you're a school, if you're buying it in mass and you need a pencil, it would be nice to not have to spend so much money on a pen accessory. And when that Apple, the Generation 1 pencil is still a really, really good pencil. It just doesn't have
absolutely.
the automatic
That
magnification
that
charging.
magnetic
Yes,
charging
and
is
it's not as it's
awesome.
not as ergonomic. The Apple Generation, the Generation 1 Apple Pencil is a full circle,
Yeah, it's
right?
it's round all
It's
around.
rounded, as opposed to the Generation 2 pencil is angular, so it
It
fits
has one
differently in
flat
your hand.
edge. Yeah.
Awesome.
You want to move into the mini?
Move into the mini. Just a couple more things before we move into the mini. iPad OS is its biggest feature. As far as software, we get iPad OS 15. Yep, there's intuitive multitasking. There's widgets on the home screen, and there's system-wide note-taking, along with a myriad of other things. But you can review that podcast as we recapped the WWDC event. I believe that was episode 13 or 12. But you can recap that WWDC episode to learn more about iOS 15 and iPad OS. And it does not have 5G. It has gigabit 4 LTE, but does not have 5G. All right. So that's new iPad. Let me see if I
I'm not gonna
missed
be
anything.
using the cellular. I feel a lot of people will either use just the Wi-Fi model or they'll use their phone as a hotspot with their Wi-Fi model.
Got you. On the back, I just want to make a quick note. On the back camera is an 8 megapixel camera. On the front of this new iPad, it's a 12 megapixel camera. Yeah, so the 12 megapixel camera is for that center stage feature. The 8 megapixel camera is, again, so you can take photos if you need to.
But know that I'm judging you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like behind the tree judging you.
If you really want to take really good photos, iPhone is probably your better option there. Okay?
Absolutely.
Moving on. iPad Mini, coup de grace, iPad Mini. You want to start a little bit about the iPad Mini?
Yeah, I feel like this iPad Mini is taking a lot of features from the iPad Pro
And the iPad Air.
and the iPad Air and mixing them up into one awesome and amazing package. So I'm gonna kind of just call out a couple features that strike me for that's synonymous with the iPad Pro. So iPad Mini is now going to have a USB-C port instead of the standard Lightning charger. So what this means is that you could hook up your external hard drive in the same way that you can hook up your external hard drive to their iPad Pro, which has been super dope with transitioning between, like, I'm working on my laptop, I unplug my external drive, I plug into my iPad, and now I can work on the go. So it's helpful for that workflow.
With that port, so that's 10 times faster data transfer speeds. 10 times as opposed to Lightning to USB-C, you get 10 times of a speed improvement between the two. And like Sarah said, it enables hard drives, but it also enables other third-party accessories. Okay, there's a lot of third-party accessories that now function. Their standard is USB-C for data transferring. So if you're a photographer, you need to attach a digital camera.
Attach your SD card to upload photos to edit on your iPad. Because Lightroom on the iPad is super dope.
And then there's some medical equipment that you can use in the field that is USB-C powered.
Yes.
So you can utilize and get metrics off of a third-party device. I know that there's like a heart monitor, or there are some surgeons and physicians that when they're out in the field, they may need to utilize, I don't know what the tool is called, but
For the blood pressure cuff?
No, it's another tool. It's kind of like a scanning tool for analytics of, like, I guess, your vitals. And with that tool, you can plug it in via USB-C into your iPad,
and it'll upload that data.
Upload that data right into whatever third-party application is paired with that device, which I think is really cool. So you don't have to do it over Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. You can have that hard connection and do it right there. Continue.
Sweet. So we're getting a larger display with this iPad Mini. So we're looking at an 8.3-inch display, and that's a diagonal measurement.
And the form factor is very similar to the iPad Pro. It's kind of that like smushed square type instead of having to be flat and rounded at the top and bottom. It's the what would you call this? Right?
Well, it's flat on the back. It doesn't have the curve on the back. The edges are flat, and then you
Rounded
have
corners,
rounded corners. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, continue.
Another thing that I think is really cool that I haven't seen in any other device up until the iPad mini is that, okay, so they took away the home button, right? But they still have Touch ID, except it's on the power button. So now your Touch ID is your power button. Does that have Face ID?
Face ID, no.
Okay, so you're just using
Just
Touch
Touch
ID.
ID.
Okay, so Touch ID on the power button, which that you're gonna touch there to turn it on anyway. So I feel like that just makes sense.
The iPad mini does not have a
I just wonder
notch.
how big the button is. That's what I want to know.
I would say probably.
Because the home button has a
I
nice
would say
big
maybe.
surface.
Yeah, I would say maybe probably a little bit bigger than that home
Unless
button
it's like, you know how those computers have like the slide in where you slide your fingerprint instead of just pressing?
No, this one's just gonna be.
It's
press.
just gonna be a press.
Yeah, it's gonna be a press. It's gonna be a press. So you were talking about new colors, the edge-to-edge screen, Touch ID, GPU and CPU performance. So
tell us about them guts.
Yep, in comparison to its predecessor, 40% increase in CPU performance, 40% increase, and a whopping 80% increase in GPU performance, right? Meaning that the games or the movies or any visual content that you were looking at on your iPad Mini 4 is going to be, iPad Mini 5.
I was about to say the Mini 4 is...
iPad Mini 5. And in comparison to this new iPad Mini is going to be drastically different. That's an
upgrade.
Yep, all of that refresh rate stuff that we were talking about, all of the high ProRes, high quality, fidelity, all that stuff. When we're looking at the iPad Mini, we get that in the GPU performance, right? You're going to be seeing much crisper hues of color, much more vivid,
more nits of brightness,
more nits of brightness and deeper darks. The screen and quality and vibrancy of the graphics that are going to be coming from this iPad are going to be beautiful. So, like I said, I'm going to be going to Houston soon. Can't wait to see it in person. The neural engine. So the neural engine increases 2 times versus the iPad Mini 5. So we get a 2 times boost in our neural engine for our machine learning applications and algorithms. And like we said, iPad OS is filled with a lot of upgrades, subtle upgrades to our applications to utilize machine learning. So you'll see how this, how your iPad and your workflow changes as your phone starts to learn you more. Starts to learn your tendencies and how you operate, and you'll start getting that feedback in any application or any device that you use in the new operating system.
Don't be scared.
Yeah, but the iPad Mini with iOS 15 is the most powerful iPad Mini that they've ever made. So I'm really excited about that. I'm probably going to get one here for the shop.
I was about to say, from thinking about its application in a business perspective, it would serve really well as a check-in device. So if you have the type of business where you have customers coming in and you have a point person who is interacting with these customers, doing that initial assessment, why are you here? What are your needs? What are you looking for? How can we help you? This is a great place for you to use this as a dashboard for customer check-in in a retail environment, service industry, well, more so in the service industry. Yeah,
for sure.
or
Also,
even management of classrooms for like school administrators, and
or
it's so compact, it's really portable.
Or small, you can use them as gaming stations. Right? There's in schools they have areas where there's like downtime, kind of like recess areas. Right, where they have like different game setups or gaming stations where they have their recess. Instead of letting the kids go outside, they can partner with friends and play game consoles at school.
That's cool.
Yeah. Or there's now I know that there's like independent companies that are building like whole gaming environments, right? So with the
There's a lot of money to be made in gaming.
Yeah,
You're talking about
that's what I
mobile
said.
game trucks. We're talking about gaming lounges. Like,
So to have some of these small iPads, we talk about games that have augmented reality. Yep. That's a huge new category
in gaming.
in gaming altogether. So to be able to have all that power in such a small compact device is really really cool. The iPad also comes with 5G, right? The iPad that we just talked about before only comes with 4G. The iPad Mini comes with 5G, so it allows for much more faster downloads when you are on your cellular service as opposed to Wi-Fi. So those that need to, if you're at the beach or you're in a remote location that you don't have access to Wi-Fi, you need to use that cell signal. You can access the 5G bands. Better speaker system. In landscape, it has a landscape speaker system, so if you lay it flat, the sound's going to come out from the sides in a stereo speaker format, which is different than the speaker system that was coming out the bottom. Yep. The camera also, and I think this was the pivotal point for me to say, hey, I need this iPad Mini, because the iPad Mini also has a 12 megapixel front camera that enables center stage. And for me, doing presentations and doing YouTube videos and instructional videos here at the store,
or even remote training,
right? I didn't want to invest into a big 12.9-inch iPad Pro in order to get center stage. I didn't want to do that.
It's not worth it just for that.
Correct, because I'm not a huge iPad user. But to get that feature in a smaller compact version for half the price with pretty much almost the same features makes sense for me. So the center stage was kind of my wow factor for me to get this iPad, and I think that the more people that use it, I think it's going to be their wow factor as well. It comes in new case colors. There's about 5 different ones to match the hues of the new iPad Mini. It works with the Apple Pencil 2 because it has that A15 Bionic. Works with the Apple Pencil 2, so it charges magnetically at the top. Has iPad OS, and it starts at $499.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. When we said that the iPad that we just talked about was $329, right? The iPad Mini being $500 more with 5G capabilities, with still Touch ID integrated into the power button, with the A15 Bionic chip, with the Apple Pencil 2, better cameras. It's definitely worth the difference in price, in my opinion.
That still don't mean I want to see how you taking pictures with your iPad. Don't let me see you, because I can call you out in the street.
Same energy standards for the iPad Mini. Again, the iPad Mini is the enclosure, just like the Apple Watch. The enclosure of the iPad Mini is all recycled aluminum in the enclosure. All recycled aluminum. Again, no mercury, PVC, beryllium, or BFR. Display is full of arsenic. 90% or more fiber packaging. Right, so they're reusing fibers from old boxes, recycling them and putting them into new packaging. Energy Star certified.
Really? You know what I mean? With the Energy Office on Island does rebates on these Energy Star approved products. So you could
speak on that. Come on.
Because of this environmental, category, I have to look to see when the new application process opens, because I know last year's process obviously is closed, but you can get money back for purchasing products that are environmentally friendly in this way. So if you're buying a new Mac computer, if you're buying a new iPad, if you're buying a new iPhone, you can get a rebate on these products through the Virgin Islands Energy Office because they meet the environmental standards that are dictated in that program. So keep your receipts and keep an eye out for the VI Energy offices. Keep an eye out on their website to see when the new allotment period is opening up.
Perfect.
Save your money, honey.
Perfect. So that wraps up the environmental on iPad. I think that wraps us up for today.
Yeah. Sadly, there were no Mac releases. One slow tier.
tier.
But hopefully we should be seeing something towards the end of the year.
Yes, hopefully. So
around Christmas. You think they're gonna do it a little closer to the holiday season when people
well,
are gonna
rumors right now are November for the next Apple event sometime around November. Probably I would say second week of November, probably. Give it another month. But there is some still shortage of chips out there. So the rumors are that some of the models may not be available. They might talk about them, but they may not be available for some time, which
it's the nature of the beast.
I've been waiting for 2 years. I have a 2012 MacBook Pro, 15-inch. It was the first
2021.
Yep, is the first Retina model of the 15-inch line, the first one, and I spent $3,200 on it.
But when you think about people spending $700-$800 on a PC that's lasting 12 months,
come on, give it to me.
As opposed to what when you say you buy a computer, 2012?
2012.
It's 2021 now.
Yep.
That computer is 9 years old.
Yep.
And still
still
booking it.
Yeah. It just doesn't have some of the new bells and whistles that the new one has.
That's fine.
It's a tad bit slower, but it does everything I need it to do. Right? And that's why I invest into Apple products. That's for the longevity of the quality. Right? Listen, another quick tangent before I wrap up. I got to get this off. When you spend your money on something, you're spending your money on it, one, because you may like it, you have an affinity for it, but you're spending on it because of the experience. And people's tastes are different. And that's fine.
Okay.
And that's fine.
That's okay.
Right? You could have $1 million. There are some people that don't care about cars, and they'll go and get a
hoopty
and get a Mazda, get a $30,000 Mazda. They're a millionaire. They'll go get a $30,000 Mazda because they don't really care about the driving experience. But you got some people that got $1 million. They're gonna spend $100,000, $180,000 on the new Mercedes or the new Cadillac truck or whatever, or the new Porsche. They're gonna, because they appreciate or they want a higher quality experience of driving a car. Right? Me personally, the experience of Apple products is it doesn't even compare to other manufacturers and
personal
other devices
systems.
out there. It just doesn't compare. Now, if you don't care about the intricacies of the operating system, if you don't care about the ecosystem, if you don't care about how intuitive the platform is, if you don't care about the A15 Bionic and that
you're
Apple
just trying
has,
to surf the web and write
you know what I mean? Like, if you don't care about any of those things, don't spend it on an iPhone. Don't waste your money on an Apple product just because you want to feel cool.
You want to be in things.
You know what I mean? Like, just don't do it because it has that cool Apple logo on it, and you can show it to your friends, to your colleagues, to say
product.
that.
Apple work hard to create that.
Say that again.
That
Apple is a what?
It's a luxury product.
Correct, and for
that's
users,
why they're not gonna make it any cheaper than what it is.
So, and I don't like the conversation because those people who come and talk to me about iPhones, like, they automatically want to come to me with beef, like I made iPhones. Right? But I support them. I support the Apple products in comparison to other people. So I do take that stance. Most people that got into Apple, like I said, in the last 10 years, their first product was an iPhone, not a Mac. Apple has been around since 1984.
iPhone only came out in 2008.
Boom. And I started at 1984 for a reason, right? But 1984, I started at 1984. I know Apple was out before that, but I started at 1984. From 1984 until now, right, the majority of Apple users have been on Macs. And Macs were specifically made for a certain type of demographic. And Apple didn't care about other people's feedback and their nuances.
How are you going to build me a word processor with no fonts?
Go get another computer.
Steve Wild.
Period. Right? Steve was not about trying to appease the mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it. The mediocre,
It's like, give me them funds.
right? And so eventually, you will see the gap between quality and performance. You're going to see it. The difference between the other competitors and Apple. And that's going to be because Apple controls the supply or the access to supply to the best chips in the world, number one. And two, they build their software and hardware all in house. And they've been doing so since
There's a
1984.
continuity there, as opposed to when we look at other personal computing devices. You have Intel making the chipsets, you have the computer companies building the computers, and then you have, if you're using a Linux-based system,
There's
Ubuntu,
and it right,
or Microsoft.
Right.
Like there's
Which
so much
for,
variety.
Right, which for all intents and purposes have their place in the world, have their place in the market, have their place in the game, and that's fine. But when we're talking about user or consumer-based smart devices, right? Consumer-based smart devices for your everyday user who needs to be able to utilize their phone efficiently, securely, and intuitively, there's nothing out there that beats the Apple product. So the amount of money that that Apple puts onto their product is they're placing on there, yes, to make money. We all know that Apple is trying to make money. They're a business. They're a $1 trillion company. They don't get nowhere without making any money.
Yeah.
Right? But I bought my computer in 2012, and I still have it to this day.
Working.
Working.
Using it every day.
Majority of the people who have HPs, Dells, Lenovo's, what have you, if you don't have one of the very high end like gaming,
like I
souped
custom
up ones,
built my computer.
right? Custom built, right? Spending $4,000 or $5,000 on it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have longevity.
You're not gonna see
have,
that.
You may have that computer.
You'd be lucky if you get to the year mark.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I know I went off on a little tangent, but after going through all these new Apple products and just seeing how they're leapfrogging the competition, and that leapfrog is just going to get wider and wider until other companies start to catch on that they may have to build things more in house, right? They may have to decrease how they are integrating with other companies and figure out how other companies can integrate with them.
Instead of just trying to mash two puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, man, and be like, here, just take it.
Figure it out.
Anyway, I'll end my tangent there. The Apple that this past Apple event was I think it wasn't as big and impactful as
it was as anticlimactic as they come.
Yeah. You know, the iPhone 13, it still has the same form factor. There's not like really big new features or like really
features.
New
Yeah,
it's more under the hood things and more subtle. But this is in line with how Apple has rolled out. This is the iPhone 13 is not the 12s, but it kind of is, right? Because we don't really have any new standout features. But the things under the hood, right? Things under the hood that we talked about give the future, right, so much promise. So when we look at iPhone 14, 15, 16 in the future from what they're building now, I'm very, very excited to what's to come.
Yeah, the foundation that they're going to be building up
and
from.
So, like I said, if you have an iPhone 12, it's not paramount that you upgrade right now. You're not going to get a huge
You're not going to
benefit.
see a big difference. But if you got iPhone 6...
If you have an iPhone, jeez.
You know, we got a lot of iPhone 6 running around St. Thomas right now.
Yeah, iPhone 6, iPhone 7, iPhone 8.
Yeah, those are, I feel, most popular models.
It's time to give them up. It's time to give them up. Either you're going to give them up now, or the environment and time is going to make you give them up. Because those phones are at least 4 years old now.
More than that.
Longevity in smart devices, as far as peak performance, I put anywhere between 2.5 to 4 years. Anytime you pass 4 years with a smart device, with a small smart device, you're going to start to see the degradation of performance.
That's why people say every software update that comes out, they're like, my phone getting slower and slower. That's because you're using older software, older hardware to try to push newer software. So you're gonna start to see that I almost knocked this over. You're gonna start to see that lag, you know. And that's not to say don't upgrade when the software come out, because you get bug fixes and security updates. So you want to do the upgrades, you know, when the software is coming out. But just know that this isn't some master plan by Apple to make you upgrade your phone. Like, you're just seeing what happens when the hardware and software are not progressing together.
There's a shelf life on technology. It's just what it is. There's a shelf life. It's not going to work speedy 100% in 5 years. Don't have that expectation, right? That's why the cell phone companies kind of have you on like this rotating two and a half year cycle.
Yeah.
All right. So you use a phone, pay for it over time. You don't have to pay $1,000, but you can pay like $30 over, what is it, like 18 months or something like that. All right. When you're done with that, now you own the phone. I don't want to keep this one. I can turn it in and do that cycle all over again, or I can purchase the phone outright, what have you. But it's best to already have it in your mind that between 2.5 to 4 years, you're going to be looking at probably having to get a newer device.
Do an upgrade.
All right. Yeah. So to close out this podcast, first, I want to thank you guys for listening. I know we rambled on a little bit more than we would like to. I think we're probably at like an hour and 45 minutes.
Going on.
Yeah. But we all think it's pertinent information for you guys. We're going to be putting all of what we talked about down in the description notes and show notes down here at the bottom and in the podcast app. Before we leave out, we want to talk a little bit about the cryptos that are occurring out here in the world. If you are new into cryptocurrency and you're looking to purchase cryptocurrency, you can do that through an application and platform called Coinbase. Coinbase is a free application that you can find in the App Store. You can go to Coinbase.com, sign up for a free account. We're going to be putting a link to Coinbase down in the show notes so that if you use that link when you sign up, you get $10 free of Bitcoin. All right. Bitcoin is one of the most profitable and popular currencies out in the market right now. But here at the store, we are now taking 5 forms of cryptocurrency. We're going to do a little bit more promoting of that. Yeah. 5 versions of cryptocurrency. That being Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and Dogecoin. Those are the 5 that we take here at the store. And when you send cryptocurrency, you have to send it through what's called a public address. And usually public addresses are very long alphanumeric strings of characters that if you miss or mistype and misspell, you can send it to the wrong person.
That's not good, because they're not sending it back.
Yeah, because once it's sent,
no refund.
It's done, right? So there's been a platform called Unstoppable Domains that has come out with a way for you to translate your public address into a viewable and readable domain. So if I had a long string of characters that's like 20 characters long, that it was difficult for me to copy and paste or to retranslate or retype out to, I could use Unstoppable Domains to translate that long string of characters into something like joshuathegenius.crypto, which is a lot easier to read. It's a lot easier when I'm typing down and giving it to people, so it makes the transaction much more secure. You can sign up at Unstoppable Domains to get your own domain for accepted cryptocurrency. Or if you need some help, you can definitely give us a call here at the store at 340-227-3821. We'll be more than happy to help you get Unstoppable Domain set up so you can start accepting cryptocurrencies from people all over the world for goods and services, like we do here in the store. Some of the other services that we provide here in the store, we are an Apple product repair company. So anything with an Apple logo on it, we fix software and hardware here in the store. We are located in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, right off of Main Street. When you're driving down Main Street, we're the first left. As you're driving down Main Street, we are right across from Stonehouse Cafe, right above Valentine's Jewelry Shop, and right next door to Chico Jewelry Repair. We're open from Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And again, our store number is 340-227-3821. And you can email us. What's the email address for the podcast, Sarah?
thegeniuspodcast@gmail.com. If you're trying to reach the business, it's going to be joshuathegenius@gmail.com.
Perfect.
So you have two options.
Perfect, and we'll put that down in the description notes as well. Before we close out, we just want to let you guys know about, I wanted to mention this a little earlier, about the Epic versus Apple verdict.
Oh yeah, finally got a verdict on that case. So what did the
we got
judge
a verdict
decide?
that Epic, they sided with Epic. Yeah, we sided with Epic.
Shaka.
That Apple has to allow companies the option, right? They have to allow them the option of their customers to utilize third-party purchasing platforms. Right?
This don't say nothing about Apple's 30%.
Doesn't say anything about
This
Apple's
just
30%.
says that they have to
Mm-hmm.
allow a third-party payment option.
So I believe that Epic is still fighting Apple in that 30%, and that Apple is planning to appeal this verdict here soon. So there's still battles going on. But right now there's a small win for Epic, but we'll see what plays out here in the months to come. In the previous podcast, we talked about what's going on in South Korea versus Apple and Google when it comes to payment processing systems, which could set a precedent for how other countries start to make laws around how app stores are governed and what these big tech conglomerates are able to do in these app stores and what power they have over payment processing channels. And so we just think that that's very, very interesting information, pertinent information that you guys should have. So we'll keep you updated on all those details. Okay? Sarah, you have anything?
No. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for coming back and listening to us, week after week, and giving us suggestions on new content as well.
Yes, we always appreciate all the feedback that you all provide to us. And we're just trying to get better day in and day out. Try to make these podcasts as engaging and informational, informative as we can. So, if you ever have any feedback to us, definitely reach out to us via email or drop some comments down below. Okay. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.